and welcome to the first maiden voyage, some would say, of Gains and Games. This is a podcast between the three of us here. I'll introduce both of my co-hosts shortly, but this is our debut. We've been talking about this for a while, something we kind of wanted to put together. We're not going to be your typical analytics and talk about the history of games. We're just all about passion, things we enjoy, things we love. And video games is a huge part of each of our lives, and a bunch of other things we'll touch into: fitness, family, professional, all of our lives. So you'll get to know each and every one of us over these next course of episodes. But again, this is our pilot episode. So with that being said, my name is Chris Denby. I'm one of our three co-hosts here. My background a little bit is this is my first podcast. You can probably tell from my intro, but I'm trying. And my other co-host here, and I'll pass it off to my brother. His name is Nick. His handle there is Chip Crispy. I'll pass it off to him. He's the Gordonsville man himself. He hosts another podcast with our other co-host, Dave, called Nick and Dave Unplugged, as well as a bourbon podcast with some of his other buddies called Uncut, Never Filtered. Nick, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited for this. I'll tell you, we do a couple other things here, but we play a lot of games when we get the time to do it. And so I'm really excited for this kind of venture to really get in and focus on gaming, because the gaming talk comes up here and there, and as it has throughout the other things, it's like I want to just keep talking about it. So I'm excited, man. Dave, what do you think, brother?
I think this podcast is going to end up being pretty damn good, and we all have such a long history of playing games, but then now where life has taken us, it's hard to squeeze them in. So we really have to figure out like what is worth our time when we actually do hop on. So I'm excited to talk about some of those things, what it's like being a dad and working full time, and wondering if you're ever going to get to play again,
No, absolutely. And I think that's where you guys, all of our, soon we'll have esteemed listeners and hundreds of thousands, more than we can count. We won't be able to keep up with super chats, all that fun stuff. But
exactly.
As we build it, that's where we kind of come up with a little bit differently. As you see, we'll get a little more fine-tuned, a little more sharpened up. But like I said, we love those other podcasts, and we listen to them, we digest them, and we get a lot of information from them. But we're more of like Dave kind of touched on it. These two gentlemen here are fathers. We're all married. We're all working full time, busting our butts out there, doing the best we can. But the thing we all have in common is we try to stay fit, hence the gains part of our name, and trying to fit that in with all the busyness of life, as well as games. We all, like I said, we will touch into it. We're going to get a little deep dive in that. We all love video games, and today's episode we'll be debuting as a Happy New Year, everyone. We'll be debuting it on the new year, and with that, our pilot episode will be a little bit different from our format going forward, and we'll be touching on we'll be starting off with our three greatest of all time video games in that thing, where each of us are gonna go through, which was not an easy task for any of us on this podcast to come up with everything we've played throughout our whole lives. And I'm really interested to hear where you're coming from, Dave, because I kind of, Nick and I are brothers. I kind of know what a few of his are, and I could probably guess one or two of them, but I'm really excited to kind of hear what you're doing. But we're not going to at the tail end of this, we'll kind of really go into what our format will be going forward. I don't want to bore all you guys right now with that. Now, if the boys are ready, kind of jump in. I'm going to pass it off to you first, Dave. Again, we're going to talk our three greatest games of all time. What would be, in no specific order, what would be your first one you kind of want to jump into?
Yeah. First, so I was kind of doing mine in order of like third, second, first. Like I'm saving the best one for last. But for me, a big part of what made me get into video games was the Gears of War series, and going back all the way to the first one on 360. And I know the more recent ones lately haven't been as good, but there's a new one coming out in 2026 that I'm sure we're going to be talking about a lot on the show as we hear more news about. But it's Gears of War E-Day. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer for that one, but it's like a prequel. It's going back to the beginning of when the Locusts originally invaded the planet. So it's going to be all those main characters when they're like pretty young. They're pretty early in their military career. So
I think that's going to be sick.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great game. And what was the best with Gears of War is how you can do 4 players through a campaign together. A lot of games are getting away from those things now, where it's really people just playing by themselves, or you have to go on multiplayer to play together. But Gears of War, you could play Horde mode, which was fully co-op. Go through 50 waves on the hardest difficulty, and I think games are really missing that these days, where there's just like no co-op campaigns or even just co-op modes.
Yeah.
Real quick, Dave, before you continue on, can you touch on that horde mode? Because I think I saw Nick as well. We both perked up because I think that was kind of the calling card with Gears of War when it came with that horde mode. Because so many games, I remember Halo Reach immediately after kind of had their own horde mode as well. Why do you think that was such a big draw for everybody?
Because I think it's something you could play for a long time, play for over a couple hours. Sometimes it could be 3-4 hours to get through all 50 waves.
Yeah.
And you're actually like accomplishing something. I think what happens now is you go in these battle royales or multiplayer, and you might lose. You might just get you might get beat up for an hour or two. And I think it was more rewarding to play some of those wave based games. Yeah, you mentioned Halo. Cop kind of added it. They did Firefight, but I thought Gears of War just really had the best one because it would be like wave 25, and then you have some big boss wave. And stuff like that. You have to really like split up and cover the map and set up the traps or set up the turrets. And it was just such a good design, such a well designed mode. So hopefully the new game really covers that a lot too. And I hope it's 4-player campaign mode because that in itself is just so fun. When everyone gets the game that first night, the game comes out and everyone's loaded in a lobby to play the campaign missions. A lot of games have gotten away from that.
That is
Yeah, I agree
true.
with you. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say that is true. I can't remember the last game that like I sat waiting to play a campaign with someone else. Like it's always just the multiplayer. Another thing about the Horde too that was cool, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd get XP and shit too from doing it, right? So it's like
Yeah.
there's also that part of it too. And it's all within a whole nother game where you could do co-op campaigns, where you could play multiplayer, where you got to be, which I really like in Gears of War, is you get to be the Locust as the enemy team, right? You know what I mean? You get to kind of play that side of it a little bit and use their weapons. Like it was really well crafted. I didn't even I like Gears of War a lot, but that one did not cross my radar. That's a good pick.
I thought long and hard about this, and it really came down to like what was my most enjoyable moments, and I could always think back to like in middle school and even high school, guys would have sleepovers with and Gears of War Horde mode is something we could all play, with no internet connection or anything.
Yeah.
So that's why I made the list for me for sure. Even though I haven't played it much in recent years, it's going back to like older memories for that one for sure.
No, I'm in the same boat as Nick, actually. It's funny, as soon as you said Gears of War, I was like, how did that not even pop in my head when I was going through this list? It's crazy how looking at my list and when I go into mine, I actually am going to follow you, Dave, when I go into mine. I'll start with my number 3 and work my
3,
way
2,
to my
1.
number 1.
Yeah.
That one's hard for me because when I look at these 3 on my list, they all hold special places for different reasons. As I know each of yours does too. But going back to Gears of War, like not only was the horde mode and the multiplayer fun, I just think about the story and like, spoiler alert for everybody, our beautiful producer, Stan the Nick Chip, he will mark it here and we'll give you a thumbs up after I say this. But when Dom sacrifices himself is one of the biggest moments, I think, in Gears of War.
Yeah.
Right prior to finding his wife, which his whole mission was to find her, and she's already gone. And that whole scene when he's hugging her and she looks real, like it sounds silly I say it that way, but like it's her, like he remembers her prior to the war, and then it clicks to the scene where he's holding a husk. And I just remember, even as a child at the time, that radiating. I could not imagine now reliving that scene now that we're married and we have family and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that scene, thinking back and now, it's kind of like giving me a little bit of a chill. Like that's just a powerful moment. And then like with that happening, I think that's why, and it was such good storytelling, especially for a third person shooter on Xbox, for such
Right.
good
Yeah.
storytelling that he made that
They get you invested.
sacrifice. Well, he made the sacrifice prior to losing his, knowing his wife's gone. So that I feel like for him, that sacrifice was a little bit easier to make
Yeah.
for him. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah.
like that. It's what's the point? I'm going out to save my boys. You know what I mean? And just watch that way. Marcus screams Dom. It's a meme always, right? But it is a
Yeah.
powerful moment. Dom. But like, but yeah, just that storytelling. And then it's almost like, I don't know if you guys ever were like, you were a kid, you played with action figures. It was like the hardest part was like getting an ending. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's Gears of War's issue because I feel like no matter how many times you feel like you beat the Locust, they're back. And they're back a different kind of way and stuff. So it's crazy to think about. Like, and you just know it too. And I love those games because they're so, like, you get just a second of reprieve. And then you hear
Yeah.
that, the fight's about to start and it's all going
Yeah.
to be, all hell breaks loose for like 35 minutes. But I'll pass it on to you, Nick,
Yeah.
playing off that. Do you kind of feel the same?
But yeah, dude, it's very rare. Well, I wouldn't say it's rare, but I would say probably my favorite games, and each one that's in my list has what you talked about, a great storytelling element. And I think that you could have the greatest game ever, and if you don't have a good story behind it, you could have the greatest combat loop, the greatest gameplay. If you're not invested in the story, at least for me, I'm going to fall off because I want to be invested in the characters. I want to be invested in what's going on, especially a game like Gears of War when you're playing a campaign like that. A multiplayer, of course, is different when you're talking about Battlefield and things like that. But when you have a game that has its main focus on campaign and then those characters translate into the different types of modes you could play, they did that so well. And I really can't think of another game that's done it like that into all the other modes as well.
I'm going to pass this on to you too, Dave. It's funny you say that about like the story kind of being king in your mind when it comes to playing video games. Where I do feel that like if a story is really good, I can deal with bad gameplay. But
Yeah.
also, if gameplay is just so fun, I could turn the sound off on that game, put a podcast on, and just play the game for the fun of playing the game. Outriders. I don't know if you guys either played Outriders. The story was terrible. It was like bad anime, but the gameplay loop was so good. Anthem. I know the Anthem gets more hate than any game in the world, rightfully
Yeah.
so. I mean, like it was a bunch of fluff and not a lot of heart in there, but
Yeah.
if you played Anthem, it was so fun to play. So it's funny that I'm learning that about you. And I think I've always kind of known that about you, but it's
Yeah.
funny to hear you say it out loud because I'm almost on the other side where I love a good story, but if the game is fun, I can turn my brain off. And like we'll touch on our favorite kind of games to play later on. But yeah, that's really cool. Dave, are you kind of my side, Nick's side, or kind of like in the middle?
Yeah, I mean, the story's definitely great, but you heard me listing off all these things about Gears of War, and I didn't even mention the story but then you did, and it's like, oh yeah, they really did have a good story, but I don't look back and remember games for that necessarily. It's like I said, me putting that on my list was about just like the fun aspect of it, the memories of get-togethers playing it, and of course the gameplay. There's a lot of Apex Legends. It's not on my list of top 3, but that's a perfect example where I couldn't tell you what all those characters were up to, like what their stories are and things like that. I know they had a whole like comic thing and a backstory to all these characters, but like to me it didn't. I was like, who cares? The game's just fun in itself. Just the gameplay was smooth. So I think it helps, but it doesn't make or break it for me.
And I will say, I mean, I agree with that for multiplayer games, but I'm talking like single player games for me, 100%. Like
Yeah.
if it's going, well, definitely like an RPG, but like something like Gears of War, like the campaign, like I'm not going to play through the, I mean, if you have someone to play with, yes, but if I was playing single player and I'm not invested in the campaign or the story, I'm not going to finish it. You know what I mean? That's like the Battlefield campaign, like, to me, I mean, it was fun. It was kind of cool, but I was also kind of the hype of the multiplayer. So I just stopped playing it. You know what I mean?
And I didn't even touch the campaign, so it's funny you say that. But it's
Yeah.
all it's. I like that you brought up Apex Legends. I never really partaked in it, but I did play Overwatch, and I did feel like if the characters are like cool enough, like they kind of what's the word, like have that intrigue. I was kind of craving. It would be sick if there was a story element to this. So it's funny. I kind of contradict myself a little bit, but yeah. But
Yeah.
going back to Battlefield, Battlefield's a ton of fun. But I didn't even touch a campaign because of the
Yeah.
hype of the multiplayer.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's not a hot take. I'm pretty sure that's probably most people.
I
Yeah.
think across the board, yeah, they're never known for a campaign. Actually, I think a lot of them don't even ended up releasing without campaigns. But and then yeah, like Battlefield's strictly that's always been a multiplayer. When I look back and think about all those games, you know, I couldn't. You just play the camp like you said, Nick. You just play through the campaign. It's kind of fun, but it's not memorable.
No. All
All
right,
right. Well,
Stan, you got to give us your third game.
you're gonna pass it on to
I'm
me.
passing it to you. I want to hear yours.
So this one's hard because it's hard for me to put this one at number 3, but I'm going to. So for me, I was a huge fan my entire life of the Final Fantasy series. I'm sorry I keep looking down. I got a whole page of notes here.
No, you're good.
And why I chose, and you guys went series, and I respect it. A little bit of a cheat code, but it's fine. It's fine. But looking at the Final Fantasy series, one truly always sticks in my heart. I don't know you guys, your history with them, and I'll pass it on to you to hear that. But Final Fantasy IV is a pivotal game for me in my gaming love of gaming. For those that don't know, Final Fantasy IV, I believe, was Final Fantasy II in the States, and then they got all jumbled up. But going, like I said, we're not historians. I'm probably wrong on that, but I will tell you the crazy thing about Final Fantasy IV, and I played it, the story was dark. It was a story of, again, like I'm going to go into full spoilers, guys. You haven't played Final Fantasy IV, it's a 20-year plus game. Sorry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can't really talk about our greatest of all time if we're not going to go into the story of why they're so amazing. And I'm pretty sure all of our games are relatively old. But Final Fantasy IV is the story of Cecil. He was a Dark Knight, and it was him, his buddy Kane, who's a Dragoon. And they know they fight. They're part of the Dragoons. Can't think of the name off the top of my head. I think it's like the Red Wings, and they are like they bomb the city, kill all these people. It's like a mage's city, and it's a story about a guy that's realizing he's wrong, has a redemption arc. He goes from a Dark Knight to a Paladin. His best friend Kane betrays him because Kane's under the influence of the Emperor and all these different things, and it just accumulates with, of course, in your typical JRPG fashion, you fight God. And it's just an amazing thing. And I'm kind of butchering the story a little bit because it's been so long since I played it. But the thing that always sticks in my head is like that awesome light to dark, almost like a reverse Darth Vader, a reverse Arthas from World of Warcraft, where he goes that good holy person becomes evil because of this pivotal moment, and his was like a reverse story, and it was just so cool because like you're leveling up the Dark Knight. Obviously it's a cool looking character and all this dark armor, and then you get redeemed on this mountain and become a paladin, and then your whole character kind of changes, holy magic and all these different things. And again, as Nick knows, Stan, I call him Stan. For everyone that's going to watch this podcast, you'll hear us go from our normal names to Stan. We call each other Stan based on South Park. There's an episode where they're at a water park and Randy's hanging off a ladder and he screams, "Stan!" And ever since that,
As the
we
water
called
park
each other.
filling up with piss.
Ever since then, we've called each other that, and it's stuck. And a fun fact about that, we called each other that for about 5 years, and eventually our dad asked us why we did that. After 5 years, he's like, "What do you guys call each other that?" And I was like, "Why now?" He's like, "I was just curious." In half a decade, but Nick will know I'm a huge turn-based strategy RPG guy. They're some of my favorite games to play. Any Final Fantasy historian that listens to this is gonna crush me for getting all the different things about Final Fantasy IV wrong. But again, like what sticks to me is just playing it over and over again. And I've replayed it on the DS, and it was like in a 3D kind of remake of it. They're like kind of chibi sprites. I didn't really, it is what it is. It was kind of cool just to replay it again. But I really just love that those original graphics, that old school style of things. I'm actually currently right now playing Final Fantasy Tactics Remake, and again has kind of that similar. There's different stories. It's a grid-based strategic game. It's not it's turn-based, but it's not your typical turn-based. They're in lines fighting back and forth. You kind of move them around the grid and everything like that. Kind of more towards recently like a Baldur's Gate 3. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so I know that like I think we all played Gears of War. I doubt we all played Final Fantasy 4. But have you boys ever played any Final Fantasy type games? I'll pass it to you first, Dave. Anything in the Final Fantasy realm ever come across your screen?
We had a PlayStation 2, so I've mostly been on the Xbox. And I think some of the Final Fantasy games have crossed over to Xbox in later years, but wasn't originally all on PlayStation.
PlayStation and Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
So yeah.
but we had a game growing up that was called Kingdom Hearts that had it was like this crossover with Disney and Final Fantasy characters. But that was really my only exposure to seeing like what Final Fantasy was, what kind of that world was about. I know I know my wife Lauren really likes Final Fantasy. She would she'd probably be able to talk about it for a long time. But for me, I haven't played any of them, any of the mainline games, so I can't really speak on it. But
And they're not as big of a time commitment as like a typical JRPG 100+ hour game nowadays. You could probably, if you really just sat down with it, probably beat it in about 15 hours, give or take.
yeah,
If you ever had the inkling to ever play a Final Fantasy, you have to do me that one favor and you have to choose 4. Just
start with 4.
it gives it's like that kind of
I'll
series
make
where
I'll make a list of recommendations so we can like next time I'm up for a single player game, I'll throw it on there and we can talk about it in a future episode.
absolutely. I would even do a replay if we end up doing retrospectives. That would be awesome.
That
But
would be pretty cool.
But talking about why I like it so much again, like it was a time when like those Nintendo-esque Final Fantasy games didn't have that. Going back to what you were stating, Stan, about stories, like the fact the story was so dark and there was like people dying, these two twins sacrificed themselves, their children. It's just craziness. Like you think they did, but then they're okay, which is kind of.
Right.
But it's that idea of like a story where at the time you look at it now, there's a million stories like that where it's gritty, dark, all this death and betrayal and political intrigue, but that wasn't really the thing then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And why I loved it, and like just the whole series in itself, what really resonated with me, and I've always heard it and never really went back and looked at it because I just like the mystique of it. That Final Fantasy was their last attempt, hence the name before their studio shut down, and it was a success. And here we are, Final Fantasy 16, which I know you played, and I'm gonna pass it off to you in a few, Nick. But yeah, it's just a really cool series. Final Fantasy VII being the most notable that I think everyone's even heard of if you're a gamer. Cloud Strife is one of the most, if you think video game characters, he kind of pops in the brain of those top line video game characters that you can pick off your head, like a Bowser, a Mario. And you can jump over to PlayStation. You got Kratos. I feel like Cloud falls in there. Again, Final Fantasy is more like, they're Square Enix. They're more of a mercenary group. They go where they pay the most and they'll put their game on your platform. But again, Final Fantasy 4 will be my number 3. And Nick, anything talking about Final Fantasy, how you feel about that whole realm? And
the only one I played was what was it? 16, I believe. Yeah.
That was the most recent one with Clive, right?
Yeah, I played that one and I liked it. I liked the story a lot. The gameplay was a little repetitive for me for that one. It was a lot of like the button mashing, which I like that to a degree, but I will say the whole story of that one and some of the fight scenes, whereas like typically I just won't even do the button. I mean, I'll do the button mashing and I'm nasty at it, but it'll get old. But the way that they would put the scenes together was like, all right, it's almost worth it. Like you'd almost get like a little bit of cinema, like you're watching a bit of a movie while you're doing it. So the commitment to the story was fantastic and it was really good. The other ones I haven't played them.
Before you continue, sorry not to cut you off, but I kind of want to touch on that about Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
And that's what really kind of turned me off from Final Fantasy 16, honestly, is what I think it proved to me was you can't have a 80-hour, 60-hour Devil May Cry game.
Yeah.
For that same, because that's what it was. Like you said, it was a button mashing People said it wasn't an RPG. It's an RPG. You're cooking equipment. You're mixing stuff up. You're using
Yeah.
magic and stuff. But at the end of the day, you were right. It's a combo-based Devil May Cry game.
Yeah.
And it's too much. It's one of the few times my hands would start hurting playing a video game because it was so much combat, so much time, so much story. And it's like,
Yeah.
That's tough. You want to I want to be able to relax, not they cramp it up.
well, it's to Nick's point. Yeah, you get these epic long movies and it's really good. But then it's like, again, it's one of the few times where I found myself kind of not wanting to play the game and kind of just wanted to watch the game, if that makes sense. It was
Yeah,
like the story is so good. It was like Game of Thrones, had that kind of intrigue to it. And another game I played that, well, it might have been the same year. I know it was last year for sure, was Metaphor Refantasio, as I was telling you, Nick. And it's kind of that one I liked because it was a turn-based game. So the combat wasn't like, it's more stressful. You got to plan out your attacks. And they had like its own mix on it where there was action combat on the ground. If you were strong enough and you struck an enemy, it would kill them. So you wouldn't have to go in the combat. Again, that Devil May Cry-esque combat, it does get very repetitive, especially for such a long game. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to hit that before you go.
But I think that's exactly what I was talking about with it, is exactly what you were talking about earlier with the story could be great, but the gameplay was just exhausting almost. And so that is what shot that game in its foot for me. It was like, if I want to cut on a show, I'll cut on a show at this point. Make this into a movie and I'll watch it. But no.
Definitely. If it was a series, I'd have loved it. All right. Well, again, I knew the Final Fantasy talk wasn't going to be as big as that Gears talk. But with that being said, Nick, it's your turn. Hit us with that number 3.
So number 3, and I'll just give a background to why my games are going to kind of all be pretty similar. Not similar games, but as you know, Stan, growing up, we did not have internet. And when we did have internet, it was extremely slow internet. So multiplayer, one, wasn't a thing initially, but then when it became a thing, we weren't a part of that scene. At least I know I wasn't playing online and doing all that good stuff. So a lot of my games are games that really got me into gaming and I have a lot of fond memories of, and a lot of them are single player games. So the first one, and it's a series, but also it's going to highlight the first of the series is what I want to talk about. And it's the Fables. And I'll tell you the reason why. One, Fable, the very first one, was a very cool game, and I never played anything kind of like that before that. The third person, but what really hooked me into it was you could completely choose to be evil or good. It left the entire breadth of options open for you in the game. Whereas every other game I played up into that point had a set story. This is the path you're on. This is what you're going to do. Point A to point B. You get to experience it. And yes, you might make some choices along the way. Are they really going to impact the end of the game? No. But Fable was, depending on what you did, impacted the whole outcome of the game. So it really felt like, I love when I play a single player game and I get presented with a choice and I have to leave it on the screen for a second and be like, shit, what am I going to do with this? Right. It's not like a whatever, I just click one and move on about my business. I'm like, man, is this going to fuck up the rest of the game for me? Is this the type of character I want to play through the rest of the game? What options are this going to open up, or what's it going to close off? And I think that Fable was one of the first to really make those choices meaningful and make that gameplay meaningful. And the gameplay was fun. All the different things you could fight. The story was great. It was a really cool concept. They had cool DLCs that dropped, which was one of the first games that I played too that had cool expansion DLCs that I really enjoyed. And then like I said, the series, because they were all good, but almost the highlight of it when I think back to the Fable games was the last one, Fable 3, where you were the king at the end. And if you chose to go the good route, you ended up killing almost everybody in the city because you were being so kind, but you weren't being, evil to the degree you needed to be to allocate the resources. So it was really making you you can't just pick one or the other. You have to kind of mix your decisions, or you could be completely good, but then you have an empty city to rule, or you could be completely evil and everybody lives, but they hate you. So it's just, it was a really cool games that I really enjoyed playing through all of them. And another one's coming out at some point. Who knows when that'll drop, but I can't wait for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, Fable again. It's funny because we're going to talk about what's most anticipated in 2026. I don't want to jump ahead, but Fable was a wonderful game series that I also really, really enjoyed. And it's funny because my number 3 was so close in a game that kind of shares similarities with it in the dark and light aspect was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It was
That was
that
close on my list too.
and I almost regret not picking it after hearing the way you just talked about Fable. But I did love that idea. And I love the thing about Fable is your decisions change your appearance. So more like if you were so evil, you would grow horns, you'd have flies growing around you. You would look disgusting.
Yeah.
So it's like, do I want this gross demon character or do I want to look like a cool, you know what I mean? So you have to like kind of juggle with that. And then like in the later games, correct me if I'm wrong, you could get married, you could have kids. It was like a life sim mixed in with an action game.
Big choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for me in those types of games, like, do I go that deep into it on a single player game? No. Is it cool they allow you to do that and all the other shit you can do in the game? Yeah.
He's in there spending more time with his Fable family, taking care of those kids. While his real kids are upstairs.
You don't understand. My Fable kids need me. Avalon has fallen. But yeah, like it's funny because sometimes I do go that deep in certain games, like a Mass Effect or something along those lines, where the relationships can like alter endings and everything like that. And I still think to this day, Fable 1, Jack of Blades.
Yes.
What a sick enemy, right?
Yeah.
Like a sick main villain, and what a cool just name.
Yeah.
Like what a great name for an enemy. It's Jack of Blades, right? I'm not messing up.
That was when I was talking about the story, that was the thing that was kept popping in my head as I was thinking of that game and like the elusiveness of them. You know what I mean? It's like, who is this person?
And then
they did a remake, right, of the first game? Like
I think
it was a remaster.
Remaster.
I would love to revisit those.
Have you never
games.
played it, Dave?
I've played them. The one I played the most was Fable 3 for sure.
He's got the Fable kids too.
Yep, I still see him on the weekends.
Still log into the old Xbox 360 to check on them, make sure they're doing all right.
Yeah, but
Go
no, that's where
the sword.
That's where you'll see a lot of my my gaming knowledge because like you had said, we didn't have like Xbox Live and everything from a young age. Like I didn't get a 360 until I was in high school. So before that, it was kind of just like offline with the PS2 offline and N64 stuff like that. But getting into like all these big games, these big series, Fable. That's why like Fable 3 was my most memorable because that was what came out at the time when I had my 360.
Yeah,
but no, Fable's a great pick, and yeah, there is a new one coming out. Is it this year? We'll have to look up some of these release dates, I think.
But, 2026. Oh, we'll go ahead and jump ahead. I have that as my 2026, the game I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to go back and revisit, like you said, playing Fable 3 again before this new one comes out would be a good move.
Yeah. And that, what the cool thing is that I love that you said Fable is if I close my eyes, I can see the cover on the case.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's that kid with the spiky hair. He has his hands out and it's on either end. And that's
so iconic.
And it's really cool. And, it's funny. You guys both choose like mine's a little obscure unless you're in the Final Fantasy like fan base. But like, I love that I can close my eyes and I could see like Marcus Phoenix, and he has these like hunched over with the Lancer, and close my eyes to see that main character from Fable. So that's pretty sick. You guys can't close your eyes to see Cecil because you guys know about that. Cool, but Fable, man, what a great choice. And would you say out of the 3, which one would be your favorite?
For me, it would probably be the first one because that was really what got me into the series. I love games, love older games. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I love a new game too, but I could go back and play fucking Fable remastered or just the original today and love it. I really liked that story too. And I really liked the DLC they added. And I could play it right now. So it'd have to be one for me.
Dave, you already said 3. And I'm kind of tied between the two of you. 1 and 3 were both my favorite. I can't even remember Fable 2,
Yeah,
honestly,
Fable 2 doesn't ring a lot of bells.
but I would have to go with 1, 2, because also it was the first time I got in trouble for playing a video game because you could do other things in the game, and
Yes.
our stepmom walked down when I was attempting and got in trouble. And we're all kids, they tell you could do these things. You can't even see anything, but they don't care, and they see all the blood, and then we get yelled at for that. And I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, well, also
Yeah.
I'm a demon. But anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think she got mad because we were just playing like a rated M game, and she didn't know how we got our hands on it. And
Yep.
story as old as time there.
Yep.
So we're gonna go ahead and jump to our number twos, and since Dave started, I will go ahead with my number 2. And this one has a special place in my heart. Nick will kind of, we can relate a little bit on this. We grew up prior to moving to Virginia in a pretty rough environment. There's certain things maybe we don't talk about, but for me, the one thing that was a reprieve from the things we were surrounded by, which were drugs, abuse, so on and so forth, we had a SNES, and on that SNES, we had Super Mario World. The Super Mario World is one of it's just an amazing game. And for those who don't know, if you don't know, I don't know why you're listening to a gaming podcast. Super Mario World is like Mario Brothers, but you choose the grid, you go throughout the worlds, you can find the secret Yoshi levels and stuff. And I just remember through all that chaos, every time I could just disappear into that world
Yeah.
and conquer the castles, and again find Yoshi and be, oh, you can ride Yoshi, that's so sick. And you can switch to Luigi and play as Luigi as well. And I just remember, and I think Mario plays a role, I think, in all gamers at a certain point, especially guys like us and about to be 30 and 30s
Yeah.
and above. It's just God, what a wonderful game. And again, it just has a special place in my heart because, again, with that, and I think it's a part of it. Like, I wouldn't say it was escapism, but there
Yeah.
was peace in this game. There was
Yeah.
peace in a life of chaos. And again, like, as silly as it sounds, playing that game and going and climbing the fences and hitting the Koopas around the fence and spins them around, and realizing you can't kill the skeleton Koopas, you got to like run away from them as they come back to life, and getting firepower, star power, riding Yoshi was the coolest to me. And then sacrificing Yoshi to get to a ledge you can't reach, and you just drop him
Yeah.
to his death. But again, I know that was a little deep on my personal side of it, but I think that's why video games are so special. Like, they're so fun to play, and yeah, like that, but they're also a peace sometimes when there's so much chaos around us. And we can jump into later on about, like, because we're all served, and that was a nice reprieve as well when we were serving, especially for me. I won't speak for you guys, but Super Mario World, man. What a game.
Yeah.
And I'll pass it on to Dave first and just talk about Mario. It doesn't even have to be about Super Mario. Any experience with the Mario franchise, anything along those lines? I know you have some kids. I know those Super Mario movies coming out, the new one's coming out too. So
That was our family console, in the living room. We and my siblings had to share the Nintendo 64. So we played through all the Mario games, of course. Mario Kart, Super Mario 64, which was pretty interesting. I saw not too long ago someone had a sealed copy of the N64. You know how it came in like a big rectangle box off the shelf, and it was a sealed copy of Super Mario 64, and I think it auctioned for like $1 million.
What?
So
That's
if
a great game.
you ever have those daydreams or fantasies, like if you could go back in time with the same knowledge you have now, and it's like just buy 2 copies of the game, you'd be set.
just all the Charizards I had as a kid, just money
Oh
gone.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but
That's awesome. Yeah, like, you're right, Dave. Talking about Nintendo as a whole, it is like a pivotal moment for all of us. And I don't know how you guys feel about it too, but I do find myself, I don't really touch the Nintendo Switch 2, none of that. I don't really play any Nintendo games anymore. And I know it's maybe a little bit different for you guys with the kids, but for me personally, it's just, I don't want to say that I'm too old for Nintendo. I feel like that's kind of a silly thing. It's just, I feel like those games don't speak to me like they did when I was a kid. Like,
Yeah.
I hear all the great things about him. I've heard Donkey Kong Bonanza was awesome, and But again, I hear all that and I still don't get an inkling to play that. And I'm not a Souls-like guy, but even I fell for the Elden Ring hype and jumped in and realized it wasn't for me. But I say that because even hearing all the hype about Donkey Kong Bonanza doesn't get me really going. But
Yeah.
again, still doesn't mean I don't have the utmost respect for Nintendo and what they do and all the crazy things they do, because they're one of the few that they are all fully on their laurels and they make their own IPs and they make their own games, and that's what they're all about. And they don't really compete with PlayStation and Xbox. And let's be real, Xbox isn't really in the competition anymore, as we've seen. And that could be a whole discussion in and itself. But
Yeah.
going back at it, Nick, you're like, I said Super Mario World being my number 2, and kind of you are a little more privy to how that situation was, both, when we lived in a certain area, then we made the move, and, some of those patterns still existed. We don't have to touch too much on that, but what's your experience with Super Mario? Doesn't have to be Super Mario World, all of them, from Mario 64, Mario Galaxy, Mario Sunshine, which I was a huge fan of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll pass it on to you.
My favorite that I remember the most of is Super Mario 64, because I think it was just kind of like it was just so cool. You get to jump through the paintings into the different worlds. It felt so fluid. It was, you could kind of do crazy moves and get to little different parts of the map. It kind of opened up that first type of playing around with stuff like that for me, where you'd see like these little glitches you could get through to do different things with that. I experimented some too, doing some in like Halo 2 and shit like that, going across the maps, things like that. But Mario, for me, that one sticks out the most. Funnily enough, like the Final Fantasy type thing, Mario also pops out to me a lot. I always think of Super Smash Brothers and think of Mario. This Dr. Mario is a fucking good character too, man.
Cheat character is what he is.
Yeah. And say when I got the Switch, I actually, they had, I forgot what it's called on there, but it was like you could play all the old arcade games. And they had the Marios on there, and they were just ahead of their time. When you play like the Super Mario Brothers, like the first ones, like they were so much fun. And if you think about what was around when that was around, like they added so many different elements. They had the boss character, they had the mission to save the princess, they had all these different enemies, they had these mechanics of the power-ups and it's really cool to go back and play that game and see kind of probably how Mario probably inspired a lot of games today off of that premise.
Definitely.
Well, I think, going into that, I think like platformers all based on Mario, you know what I mean? It's funny that to hear games like, if they really wanted to be those guys, like Souls likes, every platformer should call themselves Mario likes. And I'm sure we're missing like a platformer before Mario, but let's be real, Mario.
Right.
We talk
100%.
about Mario. And again, when you close your eyes and think video game characters, Mario is immediately in everyone's brain.
Yeah.
Because he is video games. He's not just Nintendo. He is video games.
And I get to watch movies with my son now because he's at that age, and they're great movies, and I enjoy them more than he does it.
Well, did you guys ever watch the original? That one when it's like they're like two, like it's a live action Mario movie, and it's like
it sounds horrendous though.
It is so terrible, absolutely terrible. Like the Goombas are, it might be the Koopas, I don't even know what they are, but it's like, it's, do yourself a favor and go back, and it's just a Super Mario movie made in the 90s, and it's just insanity.
I might watch that tonight.
Yoshi's a raptor, like it's craziness. It's insane. It's worth a watch. It's something they did all. It's nothing compared to the movie that just came out, and then the Galaxy movie coming out soon. But one thing you did touch on, this is a kind of backtracking a little bit that you brought up, Dave. Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts was almost on my list as well. For me, and I think Nick knows this, I fell in love with especially the second one, where the Final Fantasy influence was so heavy. Like there's a scene in the second one where you're back to back with Leon, Squall from Final Fantasy VIII, and then Final Fantasy VII, Cloud, and they're back to back with you. And, they're just saying the epic anime lines, like, see if you can keep up. And they're just tearing all the Heartless apart. And it's, who would have thought, let's mix Disney and Final Fantasy and have these characters with massive shoes and a key and smacking people in the face with a giant key sword. Like, it's just crazy. It was just awesome. But I just wanted to bring that up. I forgot that you had brought that up when we were talking about Final Fantasy. But then going, Nick, Super Smash. One just last before we passed on to passed on to you guys. But like just Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Super Mario, the Mario Party. Like it's just those are all just
Yeah.
fun games that to this day, if we all sat down on the couch and put Mario Golf in, we would just sit there, have beers, and probably play for 4 hours.
You're gonna have a
And
blast. Yeah.
and it would be amazing. Mario Kart for sure, but Mario Kart ends friendships and ends families, so we got to be careful with that. But yeah, that's again Mario's the goat. Love it, and again, Super Mario World will always have a special place in my heart. And Mario 64, if Super Mario didn't have that other part of it for me in my life, Super Mario 64 would have definitely been on the list instead of Super Mario World because of that same thing. You jump into that game for the first time, and you're especially us we never seen anything like that at that point where it was just like you're in the 3D world. I'm at Princess Peach's castle. You know what I mean? It was
It's
just
cool.
and then you hear all like the rumors that like if you collect enough stars, you shop a cannon. Yoshi's on the roof,
Yeah,
and Luigi's behind 18 different paintings that you got to do these things. So it was always so cool. But again, this could turn into a Mario podcast very quick, and we keep reminiscing. But so with that being said, I'm going to pass it on to Nick. What's your number 2?
Number 2, and this is a game that's part of a series, but the entire series does not have a place in my heart. Just one game from that series, and it is Dragon Age Origins.
I'm here. I had to step up real quick.
He took a wrong sip of water, and he's over there fucking clutching.
No, I'm listening. Dragon Age Origins. Sorry about that. My dog jumped up on me and almost knocked the stuff over.
Yeah, so for me, it would be Dragon Age Origins. I remember, and this is a fond memory of mine too. One, you played it pretty early when it first came out, Stan, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, it's such a cool game. And then when the PSP came out, I remember we both got it on that, and it had the like the different DLCs, like it had like the Mass Effect armor and all this other shit that you can get into it. Oh wait, no, yeah, Mass Effect had the DLC armor from Dragon Age Origins that was sick. But that game, I didn't think I would like the gameplay of that game, and it took me a while to actually get used to the gameplay of that game, how it worked, where it was kind of how that combat was. You have your set of abilities, you kind of auto attack, and you can pause at any time. So it was like my first introduction to like a tactical game, strategy game. And I'd played before on PCs, like the old school strategy games, like kind of like the StarCrafts, but before StarCraft, like the old school shit. And I didn't like those games at all, really. And it reminded me of that. Like I felt like, man, I was like, if I could pause a game at any time, it's like cheating. But that game proved to me that even if your ass paused it and you weren't set up and thinking and smart about it, you would get creamed. And so it really made me enjoy the type of gameplay to where it was like, yeah, you could pause it and kind of make a decision and interact with the other party members. And it was just kind of that whole story. And you go back to like a dark story as a kid. That's a dark story. I mean, just the intro of that game is like, you're like, holy shit. It's kind of a Lord of the Ring type vibe where you got, what are they called? The dark or the creatures coming out.
Darkspawn.
Yeah, the Darkspawn were coming up, and you got like your, the heroes, and it was just the wardens. It was a really cool, really fun game, and I remember going through, and then the first time you face an actual dragon in the game was like a holy shit moment. It's like it made me fall in love with that type of combat, which really I think made me super excited. And for like Baldur's Gate 3, I had that game. I was playing it in the beta test nonstop, and I don't think I would have even thought to play that game until after the hype if I didn't play games like Dragon Age Origins. So I really appreciate that game for its story and for how it broadened my perspective as a gamer to want to try different games that initially I probably would have brushed off. And it was cool to get it on the PSP, and we'd play it over at our grandma's house on the couch and shit like that. So it holds a dear place to me. I did not like the other ones. I know that you liked the second one. I remember we talked about that.
Did not like the second one. I
You
love Dragon Age Inquisition.
Inquisition, that's right. You liked Inquisition. I didn't like any of them after Origins. I'll be honest with you. I could not get into them. I think Origins had a rustic charm to it I would have loved if they would have bumped up graphics, had a new storyline, and made that game the exact same way it was made, and just dropped a couple more like that without change. They changed too many mechanics. It wasn't the same game.
Yeah, touching it, and then dang, Dragon Age Origins is a really good pick, and I absolutely adored that game, and I remember the DLC. You get the Golem Shale,
Mhm.
and that's just cool, and yeah, it was such a fun game, and it really did invoke and Dave, I'm not too sure if you are too as well, but we're huge Lord of the Rings fans, and that game
Mm.
inspired Lord of the Rings 100%. Yeah, the opening scene, the dark spot looked just like the orcs. They're about to lay a siege, and it's inspiring speech, all that good stuff, and then chaos ensues. Like it was perfect. Yeah, Dragon Age 2 is more of an action RPG. I was not a fan of it. I also didn't like that it kind of, we talked again, like I said at the top of the show, these two do a show called Nick and David Unplug, and I had the privilege to be a guest on there. And we talked about Starfield and how they had generated procedural maps and dungeons and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And
Yeah.
I feel, and if I remember correctly, Dragon Age 2 felt like that, where every time you went to a dungeon, because it was all in the city, the dungeons were almost exactly the same. And I
Mhm.
remember that being a big turn off for me. I was like, dude, this is so lame. Do we get to leave the city? What are we doing? And that's why I think Dragon Age Inquisition I love so much because it was huge. And again, it won Game of the year it came out, but also it was kind of the only thing really out.
Yeah.
But I really liked it, and I replayed it just recently, about like 2 years ago, played it all the way through as a mage and really enjoyed it, but, yeah, I think that's an excellent pick, Dragon Age Origins, and, a game that's very similar to it, again, I go back to it, and I'm kinda kicking myself for not putting it on my list, was Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. It played exactly the same as Dragon Age Origins did, if I
Mhm.
remember correctly. It was that, the tactical turn. It was tactical turn based, but it didn't feel like it was your typical turn based because it's almost like you would trick your brain almost like clicking A meant you were doing the attacking. In real reality,
Yes.
you've chose the action and you're choosing your abilities and then you're intertwined in combat. It's based off stats. Dave, you
Knights
had any
of the Old
experience with the
Republic, I'm
drag?
sorry. It was this close for me too. It was.
I almost want to I love Final Fantasy 4 to death, but we might have to record this entire episode over again. And sorry, but Dave, any experience in the Dragon Age franchise?
No, I wrote it down here on my list though. I'm definitely gonna go play at least that one, Dragon Age Origins.
Dude, you're gonna love it. I'm
But
telling
no,
you.
I've heard about them over the years. It's just one I hadn't got to. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great series, and that's the thing that I think we all can kind of agree on. There's just so much to play nowadays that
Yeah.
it's almost near impossible to look at. Like when I wrote out my and a little spoiler for our next episode, our top 5 of the year of 2025, writing that list out, and then let me just double check everything that came out in 2025, and I'm like, someone had a list of 100 games that came out. And I'm like, what? It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't even hear
Yeah.
some of these. And they were all, some of them were nominated during the Game Awards. And I'm like, all right, crazy. But yeah, Dragon Age, Nick, I gotta say, hell of a pick for number 2. I'm excited to see what number 1 is. But before we get there, Dave, let me hear your number 2.
Number two, I had for this. It's the franchise as a whole. But when we were younger, going back to what I said before, having that PlayStation 2, no internet connection. This was like when Xbox Live was just kind of starting out, but PlayStation didn't have anything, and it was the Star Wars Battlefront games.
That's a good pick.
I think in terms of just looking back on memories of gaming, like you couldn't beat it. Like me and my little brother just playing split screen, or the way that game was designed, you could make it feel like a multiplayer game, and you could just be by yourself even,
Mhm.
by going in and customizing all the settings. Make it so the enemy has like 1,000 lives, but they're all in easy mode, so you can just go on these crazy killing sprees. But then you could also put it on like super hard difficulty and everything in between, and it just was endless memories, endless fun. I think it really got a lot of people into shooters. And that one is more so classified as like a hero shooter, because you could get
Mhm.
points and get the Wookiee, and or get points and get like a higher tier soldier or something, and then obviously save up for like the Jedi. But then they made the newer games that came out in, what, I guess both of them came out in like the 2010s. The newer Star Wars Battlefront games, and those things had their moments too. Like I think hands down that heroes versus villains mode on I guess it would have been probably like 2015 when the Battlefront reboot happened. So Star Wars Battlefront 2015. That heroes versus villains mode was probably the best multiplayer gaming I've ever experienced, and that's out of the Halos, everything, just the way it was designed. It was 6-on-6, 3 people have a hero, and then 3 people, we would just call them low lifes, but you were just like a regular soldier, and you had to play it kind of tactically. Like, yeah, you're running and gunning, third person shooter game, but it was also like, let's pull Darth Vader back and protect him because he's our last guy, and stuff like that. Like it was just so much fun to play. And just try to get like these long win streaks on there. But so the Battlefront games, I'll always hold on to hope. Like if there's a new one coming out in the future, like that will be the game that I play that year. That's that franchise is just huge in my eyes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I second that. You saw me cheer the moment you said Battlefront.
Yeah.
And nothing rings truer than playing sprint screen with my little brother. Nick and I would tear each other up on Battlefront. It would be the start of many fights and it'd be the settler of many arguments. It was just a fun game. And like you said, saving up the points to get Anakin Skywalker, just tearing through the army.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can play it like a multiplayer game, but you're by yourself and you can create these stories in your head. And it was so great. Again, we're gonna have to record this episode, guys. Like I should have chose Knights of the Old Republic. I forgot about my love for Star Wars. But yeah, Battlefront, especially Battlefront 2, has a really special place in my heart. Oh, it is. And again, it goes back to what you were saying about Dragon Age and the PSP. I remember getting Battlefront 2 on the PSP and just be like, you could play. It was just so crazy to me. Like, and it seems silly because we've been handheld gaming for years, but to be able to play that anywhere was just so much fun. Anytime we were stuck going to my grandma's house, made sure I had that, found a room where no one was, and just played Battlefront 2 until we could go home. But it was just such a beautiful game.
And
Nick, I know you have a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
I was leaving that part to you because I can talk about Galactic Conquest for hours. But Nick, tell us about your love, and I already know most of it about Battlefront, Battlefront 2, and some of the newer games too, if you want to jump into those.
Dude, those games are some of the greatest games ever created, especially around Star Wars. Like you said, Knights of the Old Republic, of course. But when you talk about a multiplayer Star Wars game, that's it. I mean, that whole series, you got the Galactic Conquest, which you could play with somebody else, or you could play against a computer. You got to pick which faction you were, so you go through all of it. It was like a strategy game built into Battlefront. In that, you have the space battles, which was so cool too. You could board another ship, take out its life supports, take out different parts of it inside of it or outside of the ship. They had all the vehicles, which a lot of the multiplayer games at that point, especially when the first Battlefront came out, you didn't have a lot of vehicle options like that. You could ride a bunch of vehicles in the first one. It was just so cool. And then to be able to play the amount of heroes and villains they had, all growing up watching the Star Wars, dude, it was the coolest thing to go on a kill streak and roll in there as your favorite character from those movies and just start laying waste to people. Like it hit all the right spots for what people want from Star Wars. You get the action of it, the campaign actually, which was pretty good in the first Battlefront or Battlefront 2. You went through the entire series of movie. Well, you went through mostly the Revenge of the Sith, but you got to see that whole aspect of it. Kind of like felt like you were on the front lines because a lot of the times you were playing as just a fucking trooper going through it, so it was kind of cool.
Which one was it where you're the actual, is it Battlefront 2, the traditional one where you're that squad where like you're a part of Order 66?
Yeah.
Is that better? Yeah. Okay, yeah. See that? You're right. I remember
you know
that.
What I mean? It was like, it was so cool.
And each mission was narrated by that guy, right? Where he would talk about it like, she had no idea it was coming. We had no choice. Yeah.
You're out there on the bridge and gun down that dude. What the hell?
And then you're in the woods and you gun down the Sari, right? With the twin sabers.
Yeah, you gun her down. Yeah, dude. Like
let's bring it back. Awesome memories.
Yeah, that game was so much damn fun. That's a great choice, dude. I want to play it again.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do something like that again with the campaign was going through these major battles from the movies, and I always thought that would be the best game of all time if they just did that now, like
Mm-hmm.
going back, from episode 1 with the Gungans in the giant bubble, you like
Yeah.
really go through all those
Mhm.
battles all the way to the current movies that are out now.
A fucking Unreal Engine. You imagine how cool that shit would be
They could
right
make
now?
I would love, even if mixing two things we've been talking about, do the battles of the Old Republic, the war between the Jedi and the Sith, like those massive battles that they talk about in these movies,
that would
to
be awesome.
revisit those, because then you can kind of add your own spin on it and not be stuck to like the storyline of the original. Well, I think 9 movies now, but yeah, I think that
Yeah.
would be just
Yeah.
amazing. Like the Mandalorian Wars with Darth Revan. Again, I should have put Knights of the Old Republic on it. Now I'm even regretting it more.
I
But
told you before we started, this is a very hard choice to pick.
And dude, it was right before we recorded. I have it all my notes crossed out, and I wrote Final Fantasy IV because I went back and looked at like just perspectives of it and all that, and I was like, ah. But anyways, Silver Republic, we love you. Our hearts are always with you. You're our, what do we say? We'll say as our honorary.
That's right.
But we know
Yeah.
that we all hit our number twos, and we all started already. Nick, my brother, you get to start us with number one, and I'm curious to see where all of our number ones might be.
I'm sure you know mine.
Can I guess? Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's for the sole reason, not the sole reason, but that game truly got me into gaming. Like I say the other ones did, those came after Oblivion. I remember we went to the GameStop, you picked it up, and I watched you play it, and I saw you could make your own character, you could pick from all these different races. The story, you see the fucking emperor, he gets fucking assassinated in front of your eyes. It was like, this is so cool. And the graphics at the time were, you look at it now and it's so funny. Of course, they got the remastered, but if you play it today, you're like, this looks like shit. But through a kid's eyes when we played it, dude, it looked real at the time. It was the most realistic game that had dropped. The graphics were out of this world. And talk about stories, one of the coolest stories, side quests, all the different things you could explore, the freedom of it. It was the first game that to me, like you talked about with Super Mario, for me, that was a game that when I played it, I was in it, like completely immersed. Like, I think I've made every character in that game. I've done every fucking quest in that game, played that game multiple times, and I didn't beat the remaster yet. I'm close to it, but I've already played that game so much before it got remastered
Mhm.
that now I'm just going through the motions when I play the remaster because I know every single quest. So for me, it's hard to play it again. We could talk about the remaster another time. There's things I like about it. There's things I don't like about the remaster that kind of put me away from it a little bit. But
I still gotta go. I still gotta play. It's on my list. If that's one of the things we'll talk about is there's no time for all these games, but I want to go play the Oblivion remastered, and we could talk about it on a future
yeah,
show too when I get to it.
yeah. So we'll have to revisit it because for me, it was just awesome, man. I mean, I was reading the books in that game. You know what I mean? Like, talk about, I was entrenched in that story. I loved the combat. Probably the greatest DLC of all time was the Shivering Isles that dropped and added a whole world to it, especially if at the time that the Shivering Isles dropped, I'd beat everything in the game. And so
Right.
then, these Daedric princes are a big part of this game. And now you actually get to go meet one and then you get to fucking become him at the end. It's like, it was just like the coolest addition to a game that I already really, really enjoyed. And then you had the Knights of the Nine, which let you go that route, which was very fun quest and very difficult, especially the first part, because that game was kind of a hand holder. And then I remember I got so fucking frustrated at the first quest of the Knights of the Nine because all you have is that map of all those shrines you have to go
Mhm.
visit on the world. And like, I would like look at that little piece of paper on the game, and then you pull up your map and you're like, I'm right here. Where is it? And so you're like running
Yeah, and then you
around
find
looking
out the
for
shrines are in the wrong spots and it drives you insane, man.
it. Yeah.
And in
But
the remaster, funny enough, it's still that way.
it's
Like,
still
the
that
path
way.
is wrong.
Yeah, it's still that way. So it's just that game will always, I mean, that game made me go back. I played Morrowind after that game and beat it. I went back and played Daggerfall after that game. I went back and even downloaded, I fucking got a program on my
Arena.
computer to play Arena. So that just shows you that's definitely my number one. And it always will be. That's one game that I wish I could go back and have never played it and play it again. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And as you know, Elder Scrolls in a whole, yeah, I absolutely adore that franchise. And you're right, Oblivion will always be my favorite in the franchise. And again, so close to making this list, but I knew that it would be on yours. So
Yeah.
I knew that it would get the respect it deserved. And you're right, we played every single quest of it. And you know, it's funny, and again, we won't talk about the remaster right now, but I also dropped off at the remaster and I will revisit it. But you know what really made me ring true to what you said, that I played it so much that I was kind of going through the motions? When I played the Dark Brotherhood mission in the first time ever in Oblivion, just I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. It was just so awesome, so deep, and it hit me in so many different ways. But when I played it in the remastered, I was going through the motions
Yeah.
and I felt myself. I'm like, dude, I know you. Like, you loved this.
Yeah.
You need to take a break from this. And I was getting frustrated because, you know, I love the Bethesda jank, but it was getting on my nerves a little bit because like quests were bugging out and stuff. You know, like, again, like, and I will never take it away from it. Again, like, just that one of the best written quests in any Bethesda game ever will be that Dark Brotherhood quest in Oblivion.
That's
And it
so
was just
good.
so much fun. And I won't ruin it for anybody, but the mansion mission will always be my favorite. The mansion mission will always be my favorite during the Dark Brotherhood. But, you know, kind of talking about what Elder Scrolls meant. Like, I remember just no matter what else, like you know, we continue to talk about, we didn't really have internet and stuff like that. And it was hard. And when we did, it was so slow. But Elder Scrolls, you didn't need it. You could just play it and
Yep.
play it. And it can keep coming up with different things. And then, yeah, at a certain point, you get to the end and you've done everything. But it would take quite a bit. And I remember, Nick moved to New Jersey for a little bit, and he came back and he showed me this character he'd been working on. It was like an Argonian that was so fast it ran across water. I was like, "What have you been doing?" He's like, "I've been playing." I was like, "All right." But what about you, Dave? Anything with the Elder Scrolls franchise?
Yeah, I got big into Skyrim, and I never did have a console or anything to play Oblivion on, or it was just never introduced to me. So that's why I really want to go back and play the remastered, because that'll be my first time running through Oblivion at all. But Skyrim, I put hours into that game, as I'm sure most people did. But I thought it was so cool how you could just I know there have been other open world games, like for me, the Assassin's Creed games. But the problem with series like that is they're open world, but then it just gets so repetitive. Assassin's Creed, you're just doing a lot of the same objectives over and over, just trying to clear the map. But with Skyrim, and I'm sure Oblivion was the same way, it's like it's an open map, but there's so much different things going on. Like, it's not just these repeat missions. And so I thought that was really cool. It's one of those games I think people can play the wrong way these days and really go heavy into the guides of like, oh, what's the perfect build? What should I learn? What missions should I do early so I can be more powerful? And it's like, no, like part of the fun of gaming is what we've all talked about, is going back to before the internet connection, when you just pick that thing up and figure it out all by yourself. And then you revisit the game 2 years later, you're like a little bit older, and you find something totally different that you couldn't figure out when you were like younger and dumber, you know? That's why I think gaming sticks out to most of us. And that's why something like Elder Scrolls is perfect. It's like, don't Google how to do the quest. Like, take the time, figure it out. And then, on your next playthrough, then you know a little bit more of how you want to build your character or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. It brings you back to that time, right? Where like I run into it too, and I'm very guilty of it. If I start trying to do a puzzle and I can't figure it out after like 10, 15 minutes in the game,
We all
I'm
do.
Googling it. I'm Googling
Yeah.
it because I'm like, we'll touch on it. We have such limited time to play.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to spin the statue 4 more times. I've already done it. I want to figure it out.
It's
Or
hard.
look for this obscure thing that you're missing to insert here. But I remember back then we just had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Or you Google it once, you had the chance, you go Google on game facts and
Yeah.
get the wrong information, or, you find like a good guide and you're like, oh, okay, well, there you go. But
yeah.
yeah, Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, Nick, fantastic pick. I knew it was going to be, I didn't know it was going to be number one, but I knew it was going to be in that top three for sure for
Yeah.
you. I'll go next, Dave. I'll let you close it out for us because you did start as number one with yours. So my number one, the series in a whole, especially the first three, hold special places in my heart. But this first one, Halo Combat Evolved, is my number one in my heart for ever. And I'll tell you, I remember we went on it was sixth grade, went on a field trip randomly to Fashion Square Mall in Charlottesville. And for some reason, I still can't remember why, we went to Circuit City, which, for all the old heads out there, was a giant plug building that disappeared off the face of the earth and was replaced by Radio Shacks, and that disappeared off the face of the earth. But we went into Circuit City, and for some reason, their video game section had a huge discount going on. And I bought 2 games that day. It was Mega Man X Command Mission, which ended up being a fantastic turn-based Mega Man game, which I fell in love with. Again, turn-based will always be a special place for me. But I also got this random game that had this, and I had not heard anything about Halo up to this point. And I was like, that guy looks sick. And he's just standing there. I didn't know his name was Master Chief, just standing there with that assault rifle. And I didn't even turn it around and look at the back. I just picked it up and took it. And I was like, let's do it. And I got them both at the time, got them both together for $60. Again, some crazy deal at Circuit City. It was probably they're about to close and they're giving stuff away, but maybe that's what the field trip was for. Maybe just a goodbye to Circuit City. Maybe they were sponsoring Flamanna. I don't know. But I got home that day and I put in Halo and I started playing and I couldn't believe it. The first cutscene and then you take control of Master Chief and you're walking through the Pillar of Autumn, that massive ship, and you look at the Marines that are injured to your right and you can see their chests moving. Like you can see them breathing. And I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, this is insane. I hadn't seen anything up to the point that detailed. And then pulling the trigger on the controller and it just firing that assault rifle perfectly. I was like, this is something special. And then you fight the first elite. He's invisible and you see him and, and I'm like, what is this? And then the grunts are running around. And it's like, you have so many of those memorable moments from that first Halo. And then you get, I'm so mad. It's not Cartographer, that mission where you're in an open world for a little bit. And I think that's the inspiration for Halo Infinite. Basically, let's make Cartographer. I can't talk. I'm sorry. Make that a whole game. But I remember just driving around and having the freedom to go where I want, and the physics in that game. You toss a grenade under the Warthog, it spins 30 feet in the air. You can use the rocket launcher to make power jumps and just, playing through that first game. And then the beauty, again, I will say, because I was doing games, you guys cheated and serious, but we won't talk about that. But Halo Combat Evolved was always special, but Halo 2, after that long, long wait, and you do that first mission at Chief, and then you find out you can dual wield, and you get the dual wielding SMGs, you get the dual wielding plasma rifles. That mission, and when you drop the bomb off of the Covenant, all the badass one-liners that Master Chief can say. And then going back to the first game, when you're going through all these missions, and then you find a Covenant that's dead with plasma energy, which I always thought was funny. Because I'm like, don't you use plasma weapons? You don't think one Marine picked up a plasma rifle and killed this Marine? It would kill this elite. But then you find out about the Flood, the worst enemy of all time. I hate the Flood. But they were so terrifying because then you go from fighting this cool alien race, all these different hunters and jackals, and then you're fighting space zombies. And they're just taking over both humans and Covenant. And then jumping back to 2, then you get to play as an elite, the Arbiter, which is one of my favorite characters of all time. I know there was controversy back then, but I loved playing as the Arbiter, playing as an elite and seeing those cutscenes and seeing High Charity and the prophets and the way they're talking. It was just this became this epic space drama right before our eyes.
Yeah.
Halo, again, a close one that I thought about a lot, and we could do honorable mentions after this, but it kind of like once I played Mass Effect, kind of relived that part of me in a different way, but like just an epic space drama, all these different things. But Halo doesn't, I feel like doesn't get enough credit, especially Halo 2. It gets a ton of credit, but for that story aspect in Halo 2. And
Yeah,
then you
Halo
jump into
2.
Halo 3 and you do that final mission that, the full circle,
Yeah.
and you drive off on that warthog, and it's basically our sunset moment for that franchise. And I think I won't speak for you guys. I feel like the last really good Halo was Halo 3. Halo Infinite, I was so happy and excited when it came out. You and Nick and I were on the phone talking about buying the special edition Xbox just to have it until it went up to like $1,000. Like, yeah, I don't want it that bad. But
Dave's got it.
oh, you got it? Nice. But like that, I remember when they shadow dropped the multiplayer and we got to play that. And, the campaign was what it was. I enjoyed a lot of it. I like the aspect of an open world, but it's like, I don't like that they finished that story. I don't know if you guys heard in a book. It's not going to be in the next Halo game, which is kind of frustrating. But
Yeah.
again, you know what I mean? Like we can talk about the downfall of Halo, but those golden years, those first 3 games, that wait between 1 and 2, it's again, we talked about it for like the military, and we talked on Nick and Dave Unplugged about like those highs and lows that are hard to rebuild in life. But I'll just, again, Halo, getting it when I was in 6th grade, Halo 2 dropping and it just being an insane moment and getting that. I think I was in high school. And then in the military, going to the last midnight release was Halo 3, and just staring at the case, knowing life was going to be terrible tomorrow because I'm staying up all night playing this bad boy because I can't not play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I keep going on and on about Halo. Again, all the issues with Halo Infinite, so much fun, played fantastic. I loved playing it, but we ran out of stuff to do, and that was the issue. But it was so much fun for a little while, and I know we were tearing it up, we were getting ranked, and
Yeah.
it was so much fun. But I'm going to pass this off to you, Nick. We have a lot of Halo hours together and under the belt, but yeah, how y'all feel about the Halo pick for number 1?
Well, I'll tell you, dude, it was going to be on my list 100%. You know that. But I knew that this game would fall on someone's radar. It's fantastic. One of the best scenes is Halo 2 when the Arbiter's on the ship giving that speech before they can take. It's just such a cool scene. But that whole series, dude, I agree with everything you said. I love Halo. I wish that I don't know if it'll ever get back to what it was. I hope it does. Master Chief Collection was great. Halo Infinite, we played the shit out of it, but it did just feel a little different. It wasn't as fluid to get into. It had some of the best storytelling, like you said, in any game I played. The multiplayer, which that was really a game too that I remember when Xbox Live first started, I really wanted to get on and play Halo multiplayer, but couldn't. That was one game that I remember being like, I would love to play this and fight other people in it. So when I was able to finally do that, it was a really cool moment. And that gameplay, Halo is, I mean, nothing's like it. The energy shields and all that. We can go on and on forever with it, but it's definitely one of my favorite games ever. It would easily be on my list. Dave, what you
No,
got?
Yeah. I've got a lot of things to say about Halo. Really, I think that the main problem that we saw with Halo Infinite is when it came out, they didn't have the co-op campaign.
Yeah.
So that completely erased all those potential memories. Because for me, that was a huge part of Halo is playing through the campaigns, like I talked about with Gears of War. I know the first 2 Halos were only 2-player, but then with Halo 3, they opened it up to 4-player campaign co-op, and that was huge.
Yeah.
It was like I can remember every mission of that game because we played it so much, and that was when achievements really first came into the picture. Was about that era, 2007, Halo 3, and all those 360 games, and they introduced Xbox achievements. Now PlayStation has trophies, but it is something I wanted to do, eventually go back to Halo Infinite, because we never finished it. That's the only Halo game I haven't played through all the way co-op, because they dropped the ball. It came out, we all had to play it single player, and it was was missing so much fun because having that open world with all the vehicles, and then now you're just flying around in the Wasp like by yourself. But it should have been played through with 4 people right off the bat, and it's just it came out like a year later or something. They did 4-player co-op, and nobody ever went back to finish it together.
That's gonna be one of our series.
Yeah, we should make a series, go back through, because for me, achievements was a big thing, like getting that 360 in high school and Xbox Live, and that was actually what I had written down for my number one was Halo 3. Obviously the Halo series as a whole, but Halo 3 specifically because that was one of my first Xbox games. Getting it, and then after Halo 3, I went back and played Halo 1 and 2, but I didn't have an Xbox when Halo 1 came out, so like that's when I first jumped in was Halo 3 and then going back. But to me, it was just the best. Like the Xbox, it was what really launched Xbox Live. I feel like multiplayer gaming as we know it. Halo 3 really set that bar, having the ranked mode. Then you could also play the social modes, and then Forge. It was so ahead of its time. People could make all those maps.
Yeah.
There was like a million different zombies maps. There's like Luigi's Mansion. It was a game. This was 2007. People like to have that ability. It was like such a complete game, and I feel like everyone's going to be talk about their generation and be kind of set in their ways with things. But really, if you look back, that was such a turning point. Like those games came out so complete, and now Halo Infinite, why was that game not finished? It was like that's why we don't have these memories anymore. Like I have such a vivid memory of Halo 3 campaign, get the achievements, those VidMaster achievements that were super hard to do, and you had to really coordinate, get 3 other guys to help you, and they had all that opportunity with Halo Infinite. But then, like I said, you're just stuck playing it by yourself, which I think it's a forgettable memory for us now because, it was a cool campaign, but I wanted to play with my friends, not just by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was, again, I think that's the whole story of 343 Studios, now Halo Studios and Halo Infinite as a whole. I think it's just dropping the ball. You know what I mean? Like, we would have all been fine if you held the game for another year and released it with campaign co-op, more maps, more everything. And I think it'd have been a totally different story because for a second there, it was in the center. Halo was back in the zeitgeist. They did that excellent intro on the anniversary, and we were all in it. But again, like you said, like I wanted to. The Infinite format was perfect, as you said, for a 4-player co-op, like an open world with the grappling hook, and we're all swinging around, and we could attack it from and do like flank from different areas and jump from different areas and get banshees and
Have
hornets.
a little convoy of warthogs, and instead you're just driving the warthog by yourself while the Marines are missing all the targets,
all the shots, and you're just stealing their weapons. And that's what I love about it too, because I remember getting you get a Scorpion in Halo and Halo 3, and then give each Marine a rocket launcher and put them on each of the different legs of the Scorpion, and you basically just were an unstoppable war machine, and it was just so sick.
And you try your damnedest to get it to the next part of the map you're not supposed to have it in.
Yeah.
And like looking back at all of our lists, like guys, like again, mine going back at it, Super Mario World, Halo Combat Evolved, Final Fantasy IV are just all games and it goes back to what you just said, Dave, memories. Like they're just stuck in my head. It's be hard pressed to find a game I didn't spend more time with than Halo or Super Mario. Again, like I said, Final Fantasy IV is interchangeable with Knights of the Old Republic. Really, it truly is. And I was making the jokes, but it really is. Like those two games did kind of a lot of similar things for me in the gaming world. Halo truly made me like Super Mario World. It's going to sound cheap. It sound a little like, but it kind of saved me in a lot of ways. Halo truly made me fall in love and showed me what video games can truly be. And and then, like people, you can't look at Halo Combat Evolved. And again, you think video games, you think Master Chief, especially back then. He was the pivotal character, and that's why it's such a shame that Xbox has let him fall. And like the show, like how easy is it for you to make a Halo show? And it's like you almost did it. The episode 1 gave me a lot of hope. That's exactly what we want. We want just Spartans beating the crap out of the out of the Covenant and getting to see the Covenant be brutal and destroying civil. So we get to see why they're so bad. And just play the music. You have one of the best scores in video game history, and you're not using it. What sense does that make? And like, I look at it like, and again, this can go in a whole tangent about like seeing how Fallout has done their show. Perfect. The sound cues, you hear the rads going off, and like Fallout was almost on my list because I love the Fallout series.
Here's what I'll say about those shows real quick, not to cut you off. When I watch Fallout, it makes me feel like it was made by somebody who loves those games and played those games. When I watch the Halo show, it makes me want to
play Fallout.
Yeah, but it's like they have these little things in there to where like they know this game in and out with this little shit they're dropping in. Halo show was like, this is somebody that saw what this is and tried to create a show around it, but has no concept of what truly people love about this series or about these games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nail on the head. Like taking Master Chief's helmet off. How dare you do that in any other format? It should have been the video. If it was ever going to happen, it should have been in the video game.
Yeah.
Not this random guy. You know what I mean? Like, again, like make if you wanted to make a Halo show, I would have been fine if you would have done a Reach show, and they would all been the Spartans from Reach.
Yeah, there's thousands of books out there about it.
Show me your faces. I don't care, but Master Chief, like, to do that hurt. And again, like you said, the Fallout show, they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? I would even say Last of Us Season 1. Just make the game.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see. We don't, again, like after you've done that, then maybe you can make your own story. But like play off of what's already there. Don't make your own story that doesn't respect where the source material came from.
It's also lore inaccurate because Master Chief wouldn't just be some random guy. Like the Spartans are all like genetically modified. They all look like crazy. Like if you've read I've read some books and they look like
Darth Vader looks like.
Yeah, they look fucked. They're not like fucked up, but their eyes are all different. Like they're not humans. They're like 8 feet, 10 feet tall.
Different size,
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like it's already inaccurate how they do it. And it's like you're just fucking it up.
You know, look, like if they're gonna like I guess they're working on the Warhammer thing. Again, make it like it's supposed to be, because that's what's gonna make fans happy. And again, like
Warhammer fans,
I think you and I are
they're gonna burn down your studio.
Well, I think you and I and Dave, I'm not sure either, but we're pretty recent Warhammer 40K fans. Like Warhammer Space Marine and Space Marine 2 really got me into the franchise.
Didn't play it. I haven't played it yet.
But I want
if out of all the games you've written down, you need to put Space Marine 2 at the top of the list. I know you, especially if Gears of War 3.
Like Gears of War.
Yes, it's Gears of War. Yeah. It's so damn, is it good? I kind of want to go back, especially with that Thunder Hammer, smashing things to pieces.
I knew nothing of that lore or of that series or anything going into it, and that shit was so much fucking fun.
And I'm telling you, Dave, the story and like one part in the campaign, I jumped up and had chills, and it gave me like a Halo 3 excitement vibe. So I'm excited for you to play that. Space Marine 2, you get a shout out during our GOATs list.
That game was so good.
I would try to chip away at some of these. It's hard though, boys. These past couple
You'll be an old man by the time you finish that list.
I sneak on. I limp over to my gaming station once the kids are in bed, and I don't play. I can't get through this list like I used to be able to, but I'm gonna start chipping away. It'll be good. Like throughout the course of the show, we talk about some of these old games we revisit, but then we're keeping our eye ahead for some of these big releases, because I know we'll get into it at some point. But when Grand Theft Auto comes out, it's like I'm not going to have time for anything else. Like I want to be able to keep up with Grand Theft Auto. It'll probably take me a couple of months to finish the game, with how big the single player is going to be. But
no, and I agree with you. And that's a great segue to jump into. And like we said, guys, everyone, we're going to next episode really round out 2025 and jump into this new year with our top 5 games of 2025. And you see us right now. We've talked about our 3 GOATs, and it's taken us a while. So we really want to give the time due for that 2025 list. Each of us will bring 5 games, and maybe we didn't play 5 games. We can talk on that. But I think Dave, you touched a great point, and that's kind of what this podcast is all about. And I know in the intro it was a little quick because we were so excited to jump into this GOAT list. But at the end of the day, like I said, we all have careers. We're all husbands. These two gentlemen have kids. I have, we all have dogs. We have our lives. And as everyone that's probably watching this realizes, it's so hard to get to all these games unless your profession is playing video games, your profession is reporting on video games. We're just three guys that are extremely passionate about it. And again, like we probably got some dates wrong. We probably got some names wrong, but you can tell that we truly love and are passionate about games. And another thing that we're super passionate about, and as if our name didn't really tell you, is trying to stay fit and healthy, as well as balancing both our family life, our professional life, getting down in the games, something we're truly passionate about. And that's a hard thing as well. And again, it's hard enough as it is for me. Again, I feel for these two guys I'm co-hosting with, having families, having kids as well, having to balance that aspect to get them, take care of the kids, get your workout in, and then get to the games. And because we're all about that on this. We like to call it earning the game, right? Feeling good about yourself, getting that workout in. And we're not saying, again, I'm a little different. Again, I don't have the kid aspect, but I'm not, I'll go to the gym as Nick knows, and it's annoying for most people. I'm in there for like 2 hours doing the heavy, super heavy lifting, then going in the sauna, doing all that jazz. But you don't need to be doing all that. As long as you're taking about 30 minutes out of your day to just get active, do something, do some push-ups, go for a quick jog, just something to keep that heart running. That's kind of another thing we want to push on this thing. We're going to talk about games. We're going to talk about the news every week when we do this. And again, we'll do our top 5 list next week. But we really want to push that part home. It's like keeping yourself healthy, keeping your mind right. And we all alluded to the fact that we all are vets. So mental health is all important to us as well. And that goes hand in hand with that physical fitness. So again, that's want everyone to know that's kind of what games is all about. Staying healthy, taking care of our families, and really earning that time on the couch or at the computer, however you play games. If you play PC, I don't know if I can trust you, Stan. But it's all about those console players. And, boys, with me kind of ranting and raving about all that, I'll pass it off to you, Dave. You kind of want to jump in about that, kind of what we're all about before we, hit our 2026 look forward list and hit some questions and wrap this thing up.
Yeah, it's something I've had thought about and talked to people about for a while, but we talk about all these great games and a lot of them are RPGs where you level up your character. And then you take all this time like it's right before you get off of the game for the night. I know a lot of us you probably put on your best weapons, put on your best gear for the next time you're going to play. But we've all done that on countless games and then never even went back to them. Like you refit your guy on Oblivion for the last time and then never logged in again, and then thinking about how easy it's like I could sit there for an hour and do that, but then putting that lens over your own life and thinking about like how are you leveling up yourself in the same amount of time you'd spend leveling up this character, because at the end of the day it doesn't mean anything, it's just an escape. We all love it as a form of entertainment, but people ask you the question, oh, what have you been up to this year? And you're like, well, I'm level 280 on Call of Duty. It's 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 great for your hobby or whatever, but you don't have anything to show for it. So I always try to think about like leveling up your actual character before you go and work on these video game characters. And just the idea of like what I've been doing a lot in my life is being so busy and not always being able to sneak away to the gym, but it's just incorporating like a checklist of habits, whether it's push-ups. Right now I'm doing 50 for each day. I have to tick it off that I did that. And the idea in my head is like, if I was a video game character and there's a little sliding bar and it was like, what would your body look like, if you did 50 push-ups for the next 100 days, and you slide that bar and then your character gains a little bit more muscle. It's something that's really helped me in my head. For other people out there that grew up on video games probably before they could talk, like we were, thinking about your actual life in that way can be really helpful. It has been for me, and I hopefully it will for others. And I'm excited for us to talk about a lot of those things on the show as well.
It's a great intro and perspective into it. You know what I mean? Like, and again, like as you stated, it's still fun to do that with that Call of Duty character, but it's
Of course.
being able to do that, but having the piece of, like you said, you've handled the business to be able to enjoy that. And yeah, it's the same thing. Like, I did this, that, and this year, but also I was taking people's heads off in Call of Duty, and they got
Mhm.
really upset and they rage quit. And that brought me a little bit of joy, but
Yeah.
again, like you said, leveling up that character, doing the things that are right, making sure that, the women in our life are taken care of, your kids. Again, for me, my dogs are, so important to me, and like, the home chores, bills, all that good stuff. And not letting it all weigh you down and not getting the guilt too from like, I do deserve to sit here and knockouts, play a game for a bit. I've earned it, and
Yeah.
everyone's taken care of. And like you said, I love that. And I am. I've ever since, as Nick will tell you, I love Dragon Ball Z and help, right there side by side with video games. I love it. And that's where I would always, to this day, when it comes to working out, I'll put that perspective in my head, like I will eventually achieve Super Saiyan. No, but I like, but like working out and putting that like perspective in your head
Mhm.
and like trying to be better. And like if you look back at that show, it was basically just telling you to train and telling you to rest and getting you ready to conquer big fights in life. And you boil down most things we do in games and stuff, like you said, Dave. I think that's a cool thing, like dragging that character increase. Yeah. Like, and it
Mhm.
will be 50 push-ups a day will benefit you.
Mhm.
It'll benefit you. Like, and like I said, going for like, I tell people all the time, just go for a walk. And people come to me, ask me for some fitness advice. Just have your heart pumping blood in you and don't just
Mhm.
sit stagnant, and it's, and again, like, don't feel guilty about enjoying the game, but earn it. So yeah, Nick, you as well. We'll pass it off to you, kind of touching in on our whole thing we got going on here.
Yeah, I mean, agree 100%. Games are one of my favorite things to do to wind down, but that's exactly what it is, right? If you I know for myself, I go through the day, make my kids dinner, I hang out with them, I make good memories with them, I get a lift in. When I sit down and play the game, whatever game it is 1,000 times better. It has been earned. It feels good. There's none of the guilt. There's none of that, and it's in moderation, you know what I mean? I'm gonna play a little bit, and the enjoyment I get during that time is way more than like you said, you sit there and you play it for 5 hours, and you've wasted half your day, and you could have done something to better yourself. That's where I think it's hard with games because I think a lot of people, especially these newer games, all these things come out, you wanna get into it.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
you can easily get to the point, especially now with just the amount of content and things that are out there, you get that burnout syndrome where you'll
Yeah.
play it and you're just like, by the time you cut it off, you're like, fuck, man, what am I doing? Your eyes hurt. You're like, I don't even want to play that. And then you end up playing it again the next day or whatever the case. But if you take that time every time you boot up a game, and it's a way to reward yourself, right?
Mhm.
It's earning it is I think us as people are hardwired to have to earn our rewards, right? I know even I was just on a big long vacation from work and I went back today and I left work smiling because I felt like, you know what? I got a lot done today as well. And did I want to go back to work and do all these things? No, but I knocked all this stuff out. I came home with the kids. Tonight I get to do a podcast. Here's the reward. We get to sit down and talk and everything's squared up. You know what I mean? So it's just
Mhm.
now if I spent all day today playing a game I really enjoyed, yeah, sure, but you just lose that aspect of giving back to yourself and knowing when you sit down and grab the controller that you've really earned it that day. And you'll probably be a better performer on the game because you're more squared up. You're ready to roll.
Mhm.
You're
That's a
gonna
and
take
that's a
that time you get and fucking maximize it.
Yeah, it's a great point you say that, and again, don't, and anyone that's listening, don't feel like we're lecturing you or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
It's because it's three guys that have lived it, done it, and we continue to do it. And like you're probably listening to this too, and probably dealing with the same things. And again, let's say you did wake up and you just gamed that day, but all week you busted your butt, you did all these great things and handled all these things, and that was your day to do that. Then yeah, you know what I mean. Again, look at it from that respect. You've earned that day.
Yeah.
That we call it a rot day. You earned that rot day.
Yeah, when the wife and
But
kids go out, you better believe I'm taking one of those days too.
And and that's okay, and we want that to get across too. It's like there's nothing to be ashamed of, but you always gotta make sure you're taking care of those around you, but most importantly, taking care of you. Because like you said, you're right. When I roll in after a really good work's been great, my wife's doing good, I had a great workout, dogs are taken care of. I'm locked into play.
Yep.
I might fall asleep halfway through the raid, but I'm locked into play some Raiders. But no, but no, you know what I mean? It does.
Yeah.
You feel better about it. You have a lot more fun. When we hopped on Battlefield this past year, same thing. Business was taken care of. So we had a ton of fun and had some great gaming memories. And that's what we're talking about. Like, we're still figuring it out. What's the best balance? We're here to just talk it out. Like I said, we're not subject matter experts on gaming. We're just three dudes with families, careers, love games, love working out and staying healthy. So we hope you guys stick around with us, hang out with us, but we're not done yet. The funny thing is, a little behind the scenes, behind the baseball, when we were talking about doing this show together, we were like, oh, what do you think of 45 minutes, hour and a half? Boys, we're hitting 2 hours, and
Yeah.
we just talk about how much we love games, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
before we go into a couple questions for each other and wrap up this behemoth, boys, talking about 2026, I let mine slip earlier that my most anticipated game, if it comes out as it's slated to do so, apparently nothing's changed, is Fable. Everything that's released so far looks cool, looks entertaining, but I want to see if they really, going back to you, Nick, talking about like your top games of all time, if it recaptures that magic that was there with these, like we said, like if you make the game, just update the graphics, make it cleaner, make the gameplay a little smoother. I will be there and I will play the absolute hell out of that game. Console wise, I think you both boys are Xbox, so it'll probably be Game Pass. I'm a PlayStation guy now. I know I betrayed the green brand, but the green brand betrayed me first. So I'll be waiting to buy that thing first, and they'll get me. I'll do the early access, pay the extra $10 to play it, 2 days early. They'll get me. I'll get got with Fable, but yeah. So Nick, what's your most anticipated game as of right now? And, just one single game for 2026.
I was gonna say Elder Scrolls 6 because it is still slated potentially to release in 2026, but will it? No. And I will say I'm worried about it after the last couple games and Starfield and all that stuff. So I'll still, when it comes out, of course, I'm gonna buy it immediately and play it. But that's gonna be something we have to see. As of right now, it would probably be Fable as well. I'm excited to see that. I think that they've done a great job with keeping up with it throughout the games that we've played. I have no worries that this one's going to be just as good. So I'm excited to see that. And I'm definitely going to play that on its drop. And I know that that date's probably more solid than well, not probably, it's definitely more solid than Elder Scrolls 6. Dave, what do you got?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
For the most anticipated for 2026, I mean, I'll be the one. I'll probably be the one on this podcast to really stick in a lot of the mainstream categories. But I mean, it's obvious to everybody. Grand Theft Auto 6, is going to just clear the floor of all this. Like I'm really excited for Gears of War E-Day. That's supposed to be coming out this in 2026, but I mean, with the way the schedules are right now, with being able to just play a couple hours at night after the kids go to bed and stuff, it's like I know I'm only gonna have time for one big game. And that once Grand Theft Auto comes out, it'll that's going to be worth putting the hours into, the long term ability, like playability of it. Because there was a period in my life where, I could just hop a new game every month, basically, like what's coming out, what's releasing. But now I've really shifted gears to it might be, at most like maybe three big games over the year, just because like I'm still working on Battlefield. Just I like going for all the achievements in games. Arc Raiders is another one we're gonna have to. I'm gonna need your guys' help to get all those achievements knocked out. But it's I think 2026 is gonna be a huge year for games. But it's just crazy if GTA drops like it's supposed to. I mean, it's like how could you have time for anything else? That's the hard part about it. The backlog might get a lot bigger.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we all know for a fact that GTA 6, when it drops, it's going to take over the zeitgeist. It's going to be absolute, and hopefully it's amazing. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like the Call of Duty effect, like you were saying, like when we did Nick and Dave Unplugged. Nick so elegantly put, like they could put a big piece of crap on the case and someone would buy a Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
GTA 6 has that same power, but Red Dead Redemption 2 almost also made my list because that game I loved. And if that's anything to go off of,
It's
like
an
when they
honorable
have their,
mention.
yeah, they go all, if that's anything to go off of and they work on that, we have something special happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like Fable, GTA 6, and God knows what else comes out in 2026. We'll definitely be, we're gonna have our hands full.
I'm hoping that Gears of War drops in like a nice little window where we have nothing else, because that would be so fun if they do 4-player co-op, that we go through, get some Gears of War achievements. It wouldn't be a super long-term game, because I don't know about you guys, but the I'm too slow these days for Gears of War multiplayer. So I'm
getting chainsawed immediately on multiplayer.
people are so quick hopping from cover to cover and sniping and stuff, and that's just a whole nother level. But I'd be down to go for the achievements, like 4-player campaign, probably some horde mode achievements, and then we can move on to Fable and GTA and these other ones. But I'm hoping
Speaking
Gears will give us.
sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I was just saying I'm hoping Gears of War will give us like a good month or two of fun.
I know that GTA 6 definitely announced their date. So I think anyone that's smart is gonna steer clear from that date. So I know and correct me if I'm wrong, they delayed twice. So I think they're closer to the end of the year now.
November 19th, 2026.
Yeah, so anyone that's
wow.
smart, anyone that's wants their game to do good is not gonna release in November. You know what I mean? Because like you said, Dave, like it's gonna take over. And yeah, now I'm gonna get yelled at for this. I haven't played GTA 5. I haven't played 5 or the multiplayer ever. So actually 6 I'm really excited about because I don't know if y'all, God, it's just like the Skyrim effect. And I'm not gonna open this can of worms. I know we've been going about 2 hours. But remember, correct me if I'm wrong, we're released in like 2012.
It's been a
And
while.
so 2013,
I think, because you were telling the story about midnight release on base when you were in the military. It was the same. That was the last one I went to, was on Camp Pendleton in California, was when GTA 5 came out for the 360. That's how long it's been too. We're 2 console generations ahead. Like it was a 360 game originally, which is nuts.
Crazy.
And it just blew up. They kept updating it. They kept remastering things, and
it is Skyrim. It's same as Skyrim.
It is
Skyrim. People just kept buying it.
The only difference is that Rockstar's actively worked on this fucking thing since GTA 5.
Hey, Bethesda's been talking about it.
Yeah.
They wanted to make Starfield first because we all were begging for Starfield.
They just dropped the trailer the same amount of time that Skyrim's been out now.
Well, yeah, that's crazy too. They released that initial trailer for Elder Scrolls 6 was like what, 2019 they told us about it? Like
something.
Come on, guys. Or 17 maybe earlier. But
yeah.
Boys, what we were going to do, guys, after this 2026 vision, and we're kind of adjusting fire here because we did spend a lot of time, rightfully so, on talking about our 3 goats. We're all, like I said, passionate about it. We were going to do a little Q&A. And instead of that, we're going to talk to you guys. Next episode will probably be another one similar to this, where it gets really deep and beefy into when we're talking about these top 5 games of 2025 that we all played and talked about. We'll kind of play and bounce them off of what the game of the year awards were, and talk about those and how we stack up against that. But, usually what we'll do every week is we'll do like we said, we'll do our quick intro. We'll talk, catch up with one another, do a little bit of a round table. We'll probably pull about 4 or 5 stories, depending on what's going on in the gaming world, and kind of talk about those things. A little bit of what we're playing, talk about that, if we can play, and then kind of jump into what that means, why we couldn't play. Because as we stated, we have lives, and sometimes you can play a bunch of games over a week. I'll probably be the one that plays the most just because I have a little bit more of that freedom. My boys here doing everything they can to get the sleep they can get and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we'll be pulling information from you about some of these games we don't get to.
And then we'll hit that after we kind of wrap that up. We'll do a little bit of talk about our fitness advice for the week, give you guys a little bit of what we expect. Our one challenge we'll send you off with on this episode is make sure you're hitting a gallon of water every day this year in 2026. And if you can't do that, then you can't play games that day. If you can't finish that gallon, we're going to need to check in every day from our followers once they start accumulating. But yeah, we'll kind of do a little fitness thing, talk about what we've done this week, about earning our time, earning our gains, and earning our gains. And then we'll do a little wrap up with a Q&A from the audience. Or in the meantime, while we're accumulating said audience, we'll do a little Q&A between the three of us for each other. And then we'll do a little cool off, sign off, and pass it on, guys. So that's what you got to look forward in the future. Like I said, the next episode again, we top 5. We're working on our schedule now, but we will be posting every week. You can count on that from us. And then, yeah, like we said, we got live, so we can't guarantee exact dates, but we're going to make it happen for y'all. We're going to be consistent. But as we sign off today, boys, pass it off to you, Nick. What do you got going on the rest of the day, rest of the week?
Well, the rest of the day, I'm about to hop in this damn bed after this.
Yeah, I guess we are wrapping up around 10 o'clock tonight. Jeez, man, we really rocking.
But no, I'm excited to do this, man. It's been fun. I hope people enjoy this. I hope they get something from it. I hope they enjoy listening to us. And if you have any similar games, if you do watch, go ahead and drop what your top 3 games are, or your top game of all time is, down in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking so we can get some interaction with y'all. But the rest of this week, I'll be working. My wife has a birthday plan for me at the end of the week. So I got another little vacation coming up. Looking forward to that. I don't know what it is. She's kept it secret, which she's never done. She's always folded. So I'm excited to see.
That's exciting. You gotta let us know what ends up happening. That's really cool. Cool, man. Dave, how about you? I know probably bed and tonight, but what you got going on the rest of the week, my friend?
Yeah, I've been the rest of the week as far as gaming goes, we'll see what I can get in. I know lately, and I think I did mention earlier that my wife plays games as well, something people will hear about during the show. But we were doing a lot of Battlefield duos on the Battle Royale mode, because there's one achievement on there to get 7 duos wins, and it's taken us a long time. It's pretty hard to do when we're by the time we're hopping on for the day. But now maybe the 4 of us or the 3 of us could play some Arc Raiders, or some Battle Royale, and Battlefield's still fun. If we get any time this week, boys, that'd be good.
Oh yeah.
I'm not opposed to either Arc Raiders or getting back into the Battlefield Battle Royal. I'll be hot garbage for a bit, so you gotta give me a little bit of grace there.
I think that's the two I'm sticking with right now, until something else drops, or until I finish one of these 2, is Battlefield and Arc Raiders. So we'll have to talk more about that in the weeks to come.
Yeah, we are skipping over this week, guys, what we're playing just because of time. But yeah, same here, where Arc Raiders is still one of my centers. I know Nick probably snapped his controller in half last time he played.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of like achievements, Dave, the matriarch, I ended up killing the matriarch and didn't get the achievement to pop, so I got pretty pissed too. But after all that, it was a crazy battle. I'll tell you all about it next time we hop on. But yeah, boys, myself, like I said, I'm probably the same thing. I'm going to get something to eat again because I'm starving now, and then crash, catch up with the wife. She's still waiting out there, probably wondering what I'm doing. The funny thing is, I got up real quick to get to the dog, and I got him like these Steak Chew toys for Christmas, and he dropped it behind this door, and I couldn't get out. So I was trapped in here by my dog. So that's pretty crazy. But by steak, you live by the steak, die by the steak. But yeah, same rest of the week. I got to work on Wednesday. We have an event in our building for New Year's Eve. But other than that, I'm off this week. Still answering emails, knocking out stuff. But yeah, and then looking forward to us hopping on hopefully something soon. And next, start recording this next episode coming up, getting ready for that. But yeah, we just want to thank everyone for joining us. It's been fantastic. We're looking forward to it. And, we're going to work on some catchphrases to end our show. But for right now, we'll just say, earn the games, baby. Earn the games.